So we are live streaming.
All set. Patty, we good?
Yes.
Okay. We'll call this meeting of the Port of Hood River Commission to order. Are there any modifications to the agenda from staff?
None.
Okay, I didn't see any from commissioners. Is there anything that didn't get to me? Okay. Any public comment?
There is a public comment that's attached to the director's report
Okay.
that you can.
We also.
Yeah.
Okay. And then on consent agenda, I would just note that in front of you are the committee assignments that we're all currently in. And then I didn't see anything regarding anybody wanting to do anything differently. Is that the case?
Oh, there is one change to that, I believe, for the Hood River Energy Council, we're gonna switch it from Fox with me as the alternate to me as the main and Fox is the alternate. Is that correct, Commissioner Fox?
Yes, sir, ma'am.
I guess since we're noting that one, we should note.
The other one
Come on,
is
be
that the Bi-State Working Group, the committee members were all wrong on this sheet.
Yeah,
It's way out of date.
the one you have in front of
This
you
is
has been
similar.
corrected.
Oh, this.
Then we
this
do
one
that in front
here?
of you. Yep,
Okay.
that's me. And there was also on the Pacific Northwest Waterways Association, that would be Kevin, obviously, and you would be the logical commissioner beyond that one because it has to do with federal funding.
Okay,
But I think that's mostly gonna be a
just a
Kevin
minute.
thing.
Okay, okay. All right,
You've been voluntold.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes, sir.
That's it. Okay, so we got that. Is everybody okay being in the same chair next year that they're sitting in right now? Anybody have?
Yep.
Don't look at me.
So then, if everybody's good. Have a motion for the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye as well. Passes. We can just scoot on down to executive director's report.
Thank you. We had so many things happen in the 3 weeks since we last met. I think I got all of that in the written version of the report. If you have any questions, let me know. Some updates to what's written in the report. I think you'll see attached the DEQ response to the Boathouse report. Congratulations to Daryl and Anna both on how they handled that issue. It's resolved. Daryl can talk a little bit more about how the inspections are going if you have any questions, but she's already scheduled inspections with Boathouse tenants and that process is underway. The next step, of course, is looking at the template lease for the boathouses. So that'll be at a meeting in August. We had, as you know, Michael McKelway retired last July 8th. We had a very successful kiteboard for cancer and 4th of July. Both of those were really tremendous efforts in parking management and they both went really well thanks to the facilities crew and the parking crew and Daryl's management of both of those very busy waterfront events. Both of those were complicated a little bit with the arrival of a fish wheel apparatus on the sandbar. John is in direct contact with the owner of the apparatus. And I think Daryl and I have both spoken with the case manager at Quick Fix, so it will be removed as soon as it can be. I don't know if they're
Tomorrow, I believe they're gonna give it a try.
okay. Give it the old
Give it a
college try.
They've got a pretty good plan. I think if they stick to their plan, they'll get it off of there.
We had a couple of unfortunate issues in the marina. The marina bathroom has had to be closed due to some pretty aggressive vandalism that was occurring repeatedly. The facilities crew is addressing that. We don't expect the bathroom to reopen for another week. And we also had a part in the fuel pump went out of service this week. So we have no gas, but we do have diesel,
Yes.
correct, at the marina, and we expect the replacement part to arrive in 2 weeks' time. So that will be an inconvenience for the power boaters. We doing our best to get it replaced as soon as possible. Let's see, Kevin has the HNTB contract, and did you want to talk about the Yakima
Yeah,
real quick?
yeah, so the Yakima Nation, we just found out this afternoon, wants to be on our federal grant application. So this is a really
As a
wonderful
supporter.
That's awesome.
issue that we can use their logo, we can use their name on all of our federal promotions for the grant and other grants. And so I think that's a really good sign that the delays related to NEPA and the treaty MOAs is not singularly anybody's against the bridge at the Yakima. It's such they had internal conflicts about how they're going to go about taking care of certain issues, whether it's commercial fishing versus cultural resources. So those are the things they're internally working on, but they are not against the bridge.
Can we use that with the federal highways to remove that requirement from the signing off on the EIS?
So what Commissioner Fox is referring to is that one of the reasons that the final EIS and the record of decision is being delayed is because in the past, Federal Highways has said that they want those treaty MOAs completed before we can publish the final EIS. But if there's clear that there isn't any opposition from the tribes, now granted, the Yakima is one of four, then they could decouple it and we could finish up the final EIS faster.
Did we try and go after the other three?
It's been, yes, but not, Yakima was really, they wanted to be involved. So they were kind of proactively wanting to show their support. And so we could continue the rest of this week, make more of an effort.
I would suggest that we go back to the other three that says Yakima has agreed, they see the benefit of it. Are you sure you don't want it? But if you do, we need it in the next couple of days for it to be any good for us.
Sure.
We'd like to have that before we go back next week.
Yeah, that sounds great. I can definitely give my contacts a call, see if we can't get all four. That would be.
Then, once we get to four, then now we got the ammunition to go get the EIS signed off.
Exactly. I mean,
Not, and we're still gonna negotiate and get it done, but
right.
put it back into its proper slot.
So it's a good thing. We can get the other three on there as well. And I guess maybe if you want, I can talk about a couple other things, if that's okay, about the project. So WSP, as you know, the FEIS is taking a delay. Right now, their current contract amendment is done at the end of September. And we're really looking more closer to the end of this year into January to get that final EIS done. So I talked with Mike Shannon at HNTB, and he was like, this is like the worst time to try to change consultants this far near the end of the final EIS process. So I agree with them. I think that really at this point, it's more about extending WSP's contract to focus on the final EIS and the record of decision. HNTB can come in with their technical consultants and manage, whereas I've been in there managing WSP. They can bring in Herb Fricky from Akana, who's the tribal consultation expert, and they can manage WSP. So I think that there's still a role for HNTB, but what's important for the commission is I will likely be bringing WSP extension to you in September.
Even if we disconnect the tribal agreement with the EIS, you would still
Well,
hold
we still need to get section 106 work. There's still the biological opinion, and WSP is responsible for the final version of the EIS. So I think there will still be some need for them. Hopefully we can speed it up. But WSP will also need to pivot. If WSP is not going to finish those treaty MOAs, then HNTB is going to need to be prepped to take over that work.
I know, so we gotta figure that transition between now and the end of September, or we have to extend WSP. Maybe this is something we talk with the by state first and bring it back.
Yeah.
But
So I think there is some time to kind of work out, how that's going to be coordinated. But some version of that will need to be coming to you in October, or excuse me, by September. And then WSP is working on that bridge improvement grant, and that's $100 million grant.
Due August.
Yeah, August 9th, so they're working on that. And then HNTB is on the ball on the Safe Streets $30 million grant, which would be specific to the bike ped component. So anyway, that's just.
And we're working a detail here, and I apologize, but we're going next week.
Yeah.
I believe we need a little write-up on that piece of it. So when we're meeting with Rumauer, he likes bikes.
Yes. Well, we had a really good bi-state working group meeting yesterday, and so part of one of the things that we worked on was the flyer. And then we probably spent, I don't know, like 20 minutes just editing and marking that up. And so we're gonna have the flyer, but we're also gonna have some cheat sheet for all of the attendees. Just here's some other talking points that are included in the flyer. So that's what I'll be doing the next day or two.
Well, and related to that, my last item was thank you to the facilities crew that escorted the Story Gorge film crew onto the bridge in the early morning for the advocacy video for the trip to DC. And thanks, of course, to everybody for making that trip. And that's it for my report, unless you have any questions.
And the other thing along with that, Marla, the mayor of White Salmon, is doing a podcast tomorrow evening. And Kevin and I are going to be participating in that, where people will call in, same to White Salmon, Washington side, but call in about the replacement bridge. I expect we're going to be doing that more and more now.
Back to Marina Boathouse leases. I don't think we're gonna want to act on anything until we have a discussion about
Right.
boathouses. So
Yeah,
we can
and
look at a
Daryl's planning
template, but I
that.
don't want to vote on it.
Yeah,
I mean, we need to talk about that first.
Yeah,
I think that-
And Daryl's planning on all that frame, all the information that you need in the background for that discussion. It will be a 2-meeting process at the least, I would think. We'll review it between.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you. I don't know if everybody here has a report or does not, but I'll just ask Commissioner Garing for the airport.
The committee meets on the 21st, I believe, and so there's nothing new besides the new 2 committee members.
I'm sorry, you said you did get 2 new?
Yes,
Good,
yeah,
and you're happy?
yes, I am. Yeah, I think they're gonna be awesome. And I know Greg's already been corresponding with, I think both of them, right? Yeah.
When's your
So I
next
think that's
meeting?
it, the 21st, right, Greg?
Yep.
Yeah.
Next Thursday.
Anything we, good job. That'd be interesting. Anything from Bi-State Working Group we haven't covered?
I think we just talked about, the big thing is coming up, awarding the contract tonight.
I don't have anything from Marina Committee, do I? Nope.
Urban renewal, we're meeting tomorrow with Elaine to kind of get the crash course cliff notes of how to proceed forward with the city, and the city postponed their urban renewal agency meeting until the 25th. And so I'll have more report next time, but seems promising. So
Action item. Number 1, Kevin.
Yeah, so in front of you is a freshly minted engineering and related services contract in the Port of Good River and HNTB for project management services related to the bridge project. Commissioner Fox has been kind of the lead on this, and it's been almost a 6-month process, going back late last year. So this has been a lot of work. A lot of effort has gone into this. Our consultants from ARUP, which were the technical folks that did break of cost, which is basically like an independent cost estimate of the work plan. They did a great job and provided great advice to us. I've been on the phone with Michael Shannon. I don't know if Mike was on the call today, he may have zoomed in. But we've been back and forth, working through issues, getting ready for next week, and he's ready to start work. This was reviewed by the Bi-State Working Group yesterday. One of the things that did come up is that you're not going to see like rates in this document. So all of the rates for the folks that will be actually doing the work, those are all contracted with ODOT. So every year ODOT goes through a process to negotiate rates with all consultants that are doing DOT work. And so those are on record with ODOT. I think basically what I told the Bi-State Working Group is that you have a not to exceed amount in this first year, which is just over 1.7 million. And the last part of the contract is the work plan. So after page 31 is the detailed work plan. So the easiest way to think about this is that these 30 pages of work items are going to be accomplished for basically 1.7 million. And how HNTB decides to execute their technical staff to get this work done is really up to Mike Shannon and the Bi-State Working Group and Mike and myself. So I think it's been very well vetted. We had good conversations with the Bi-State Working Group, and they unanimously recommended to the Port Commission that it be approved.
I think just stating, I think you, the other members of the committee and have done an outstanding job with this particular document and going through all that we went through to get to where we are. It was a very fair, very detailed competition. And I think we ended up with the right answer. Time will tell whether we got it right or not, but I think it's a good document. It's a document that we can live with now for the next 8 years. And as we see that we want to change, and we will, what we want the contractor to perform and what the contractor suggests to us to perform, we can use change control and make those adjustments as we go from now on, because we're not smart enough to be able to call out what we need actually done in year 6.5. So it's flexible enough that we can move things around as we need to move them. I'm very comfortable with the wage analysis and the way ODOT does it. We're going to get charged for the work they perform, not for the work they budgeted. So if they don't do the work, we don't get charged for it. And if they use somebody that is not in the contract, they've got to tell us that. So we've got a list of people that we've got the rates for through ODOT. That's what we expect to see. If we see somebody else pop up on a bill, there's going to be red flags raised up saying like, what did you do for us? So it was, I think it was a strong effort. I think a lot of us learned a lot of things. We got Greg involved in some of the negotiations as a development thing. So I'm real happy with the way it turned out. And I think kudos to Kevin, kudos to Bill Oley for sticking in there and the entire team that went through the competition. It was kind of fun.
So you are looking for a authorization?
I just want to add kudos to you too for the amount of volunteer hours you put into this.
Well, this sets us up.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean success, but it gives us a chance at success.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the engineering and related services contract with HNTB Corporation for the project management services related to the replacement of the Hood River Bridge in an amount not to exceed $1,739,908 for fiscal year 22-23.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye as well. That will pass. Thank you for all.
Congratulations, everyone.
Major milestone.
Second is me. As you know, upon the retirement of Michael, Genevieve has agreed to serve in an interim capacity until a new ED is hired. It is Commissioner Chapman and my job to make a recommendation to you, Mike and Heather, regarding the next executive director. What we would like tonight is to start that process. We started discussing this almost immediately and realized we both had similar feelings and similar ideas. And what we'd like from you tonight is an authorization to begin in advance of a exhaustive national search to begin with an internal recruitment. And we'd like authorization to begin interviewing and vetting Kevin Greenwood to be the next ED.
I so moved. Great choice.
Can I second?
I don't know if you can or not.
It's like, maybe you
I
should second.
second.
I can't. You can. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
I as well. Okay. We will, just to note, and I can correct me here where I cannot have individual conversations with each of you about the same topic here as we move forward. So I'm not going to be able to have what you talked about today conversations with each of you. What will happen is Christy and I will there'll be a list of interviews, a list of research that we do. You will have opportunities to obviously to speak with Kevin during this process. And then at the end of this, we will compile everything and we will then bring you a formal recommendation one way or another. So unfortunately, I won't be able to just talk to each person about the same thing because that'd be a no. That's a legal no-no.
What's your target date to bring forward?
Well, Genevieve wants this
Tomorrow?
job for as long as possible, right? Our due diligence will begin tomorrow. I need your authorization before I can do it. But that'll start tomorrow.
So do you expect our next meeting, which is,
August 2nd is our next meeting.
I don't expect it with the summer. I don't expect that. I would hope to have something soon after that. But I don't think it's going to happen at the next meeting. But I don't know that. We'll get started and you will get
there's a long
updates.
time between now and August.
We'll see how it all works out.
Yep.
That other piece of that stereo communications thing is Ben can't talk to Christy about it. Christy calls Heather, Heather calls you, like,
Right.
that's the other piece of it. And that was the reason why I just sent the little
Yeah.
reminder and yeah. So we're covered. You guys are on it.
We won't talk.
Okay, everybody's gonna hear more about that real soon. Anything else from any commissioner this evening?
Commissioner Fox, did you want to talk about
Oh, yeah.
the space real quick?
Yeah, so now that we've got the approval to go ahead and award the contract, we're looking, we're chomping at the bit to go ahead and get an office space for a small staff from HNTB. We originally had thought that we would like to take over probably the top floor, I guess, of the building over here. I think that's still very acceptable. And we're thinking probably office space for an equivalent 3 people, maybe 4, something like that. In this authorization, we have costs for setting up the office space with desks and computers and that kind of stuff. What we were hoping, and we had talked briefly about this earlier, that the rent for that space would be provided basically rent-free to the contractor from the port. Now, the port could use that equivalent money to say that you're providing support to the new bridge in kind by the equivalent amount of rent. And that's what we were hoping we could do, and we would like to turn them on. I mean, they're hungry to get in here and get things set up and get moving. We would like to have authorization to proceed and make that happen.
Got to run that through Greg. And he'll bring that to us.
And Greg has been involved in this for at least 2 months, maybe 3.
Yeah, there's been different scenarios and it sounds like, you know, where the rubber meets the road is when they get more individuals there and it has a greater benefit to the projects in and of itself because of the, I guess it's the load factor or well, basically how it's applied, yeah, the loaded rate, whether it's a certain percentage or if it's provided, it's a less percentage. So it benefits the project that something be provided. I just would like to vet, is there any other scenario, say, instead of in kind, because of course, my prerogative is to protect our real estate assets and that as a revenue generation. The fact that the port is dedicating toll money to the bridge, is that theoretically an in-kind scenario as well? And so maybe that toll money could help to offset, maybe we can find a middle ground, but it just, I would like to opportunity to vet any other way of finding financing for it through the project, whether it's grant or toll, before we concede to just dedicate it in kind.
Well, why don't, if we could, what I would suggest, because now time has become the essence of, we got to get going here. How about if for the, figure out a fair and equitable equivalent rent for that space for, say, 6 months, give us enough time to do these other things.
Yep.
And if it's something in the neighborhood of a couple of grand a month for rent, doesn't include electric or services. Unless they're just shared services. I don't know if you got water meter on it.
I mean, there's restrooms, but there's no
Yeah,
water
so
currently.
if it was a couple $1,000s and then HNTV pays electric, pays water if there's a meter on it, pays for setting up their services and whatnot. And if you were talking for that top floor, I don't know what you're thinking equivalent rent would be.
Let's not negotiate something here, but it sounds like there's a deal here somewhere. You need to do your research on it. The port wants to help out. Find the deal, bring it to us at the next meeting if we can.
Okay.
It sounds like there's something there.
Can we give Genevieve the responsibility to give an interim authority, because we can't wait until August the 2nd. We'd like to get these guys out here and get them to work the end of next week. We need a place to put them.
Why didn't we do this in the last month? Or did we just?
Well,
Oh, we've been messing with this
It's
for a while.
one of those things that you want, it probably just slipped through the cracks as far as everything else that was going on, but it was just like, all of a sudden, now we've got this contract signed and they're ready to work.
Well, from my perspective, we've been going back and forth, but it didn't seem like if we've only got 3/4 of an FTE, that it would be a benefit, because HNTV needs to have a full-time individual in order for us to get that field rate versus the office
So,
rate.
The
And so
field
the thought
rate
was we could
office
put
rate,
Michael over in the East Wing.
the
and
field
so we
rate
can work
office
that.
rate has nothing to do with rental of that property. It has nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Because we know that it's gonna need desks and internet and computers and all of that, that's gonna take a while to set up. If you wanna start them next week, we have space here. If it's only 1 or 2 people, can't they temporarily, and we have all of the services, we have phone and internet here. Can't we temporarily say, you start here and then we vet all the scenarios and bring it to us at the next meeting?
That was the thought, and then recently conversation with Kevin and Michael, it seemed like that might not jive, and so that's why it's just
Okay.
we're trying to figure it out now in the 11th hour, but that was, the presumption was, we have space, we have power, internet, would that be sufficient for one individual that's only here 2 days out of the week?
I
It seems
think,
like that
I
might
think
be-
you're gonna see that for the first bit. I expect Mike to be here pretty much full time for the next month as he starts to get up to speed, and then others will pop in and out as we have orientation meetings. And I expect month of August, there will be a lot of organizational meetings and orientation. So
So the
I'm
furniture
fine.
is not there. We need to still order the furniture.
So he just, Shannon said today that they've got, by the 22nd of this month, they could have an army of people populate that space and put the furniture and everything. So it's all keyed up.
But we're preparing the furniture.
No, they're doing it.
They're
Oh, okay,
preparing
okay.
it. There's actually a line item, a direct expense in this 1.7 million that includes those expenses.
So I might recommend that we maybe with 48 hours notice, we can schedule a special meeting on Zoom. And that gives Greg a few days to put together how he'd like to have the rent, proposal worked out, and maybe even a lease template that shows how we would do the bookkeeping for.
That's
Rent
like
charge.
what entity that it gets leased to is something that Kevin and I were going back. and forth.
Yeah,
Are we leasing
yeah.
it to HNTB, are we leasing it to the Bi-State Bridge Authority, are we leasing it
I
to?
think we definitely want to lease it to HNTB because they're the ones that we need to kind of.
Yeah, but it's a no-cost lease.
But
But
it's the fancier, the thing is if there's some kind of like way that the tolls that we're currently getting could be set aside for the rent in some type of accounting mechanism that shows, like if you looked at the balance sheet, it's going to show that accumulating rent as an in-kind contribution
Yeah.
to the project.
So between Greg and Yana and Kevin, if we can give them a few days on how to come up with the terms, Greg,
Yep.
and the lease template, and then Kevin and Yana could work on the accounting process so that we're recording this in-kind contribution that's not really in-kind because it's avoided cost, and then the billing for the CAM charges and the loaded stuff, how do we do that? If we had a few days to do that, we certainly, it's not an emergency meeting, so we couldn't do it with 24 hours notice. But we could schedule with 48 hours notice, a public special session just for that approval, send that out to you as a package and then have it on Zoom or here, either way, maybe next week, maybe next Thursday.
But we'll be probably in an airport next Thursday.
Oh, right, you guys are, right, that's right.
I think we could get it hammered out before the 23rd though,
Okay,
certainly.
Well, we can talk, I mean, I guess we could zoom in from the.
That's gonna be really tough.
I can, we can all get on a phone call, that's fine. I mean, I think you guys can figure it out. I think this is Greg's, as far as the Port Hood River is concerned, this is Greg's area. He's got to okay it, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, and
if
if
there's
Commissioner
consensus-
We want to help, so.
Commissioner Fox is the only commissioner going, so as long as
You still have
the three of us are available
Yeah.
and everyone's in agreement to it.
And what I would say, Kevin, is,
Just the assumption that it's only one person, it's been a moving target, so we'll get it hammered out.
okay,
So
Okay.
is there consensus then to move forward and make that an easy process,
Yes.
basically? Okay. So
Yes.
That's the basic thing, so we'll come up.
Sorry
We'll
about that,
sign
it's just one of
numbers
those loose items that we just kind of wanted to bring to you.
Are there any directives outside of that? Any directives to staff from us?
Big directive.
It is. It's enough for one night. Then we can recess regular session and open executive session under ORS 192-6602E real estate negotiations, ORS 192-3359A, to consider the employment of an officer, employee, or staff member.
So just give Patty some time to stop the live stream there. So under the. Go ahead.